It's always interesting to see brand new games for the first time through either leaks or official announcements, and we got a couple of those in this video. Just like new rumors regarding big upcoming games I can't wait for, like Hogwarts Legacy and Star Wars Jedi Survivor. And I already went over many Assassin's Creed leaks in a previous video, which I will link to at the end of this one if you haven't watched it yet, but it's not over with the Ubisoft info, as we got our first look at a big new game. So really a ton to go over. Of course, if you like these big Sunday videos, then leaving a like would really support the channel, and subscribe, because every Sunday I post a big rumor and a news roundup video like this. Seems like we're not getting an Immortals sequel, but a spin-off, which actually makes more sense, as Fenyx was already really powerful at the end of the first game and the DLC that followed. Plus the other two expansions, one in the Chinese mythology and one with a top-down view, also featured other main characters. Well, this leaked spin-off seems to be based on Hawaiian and Polynesian culture this time around. It still has a god narrator, and they tried to still be visually stylized, but less of a copy of Breath of the Wild. That was of course one of the criticisms, that it was kinda lacking its own identity. Well, Jeff Grubb during the Game as Mornings on Giant Bomb showed a leaked concept art for the game. Yes, pretty crazy, so the codename should be Project Oxygen, and yes, it certainly looks way more mature this time around. We should still be able to choose a male or female character, and looking at this picture, maybe we can like dual wield weapons now as one of the new features. We will likely have multiple tropical islands to explore, maybe have a ship like in Odyssey, but then more Wind Waker style. So Jeff Grubb also says that it's in early pre-production, he's seen some concept art, and it's maybe coming 2025. But I think it's maybe further along for two reasons. Opario on Reddit notes that in June this year, Martin from Side London were doing a casting call for talents with the following nationalities. Polynesian, a New Zealander, they all line up perfectly with this Immortal game, and there are not a lot of other titles that are set in this region. We also see that they should be available to record in London in late June to early July, and Side London, by the way, helped with multiple AAA games already, including Ubisoft titles like Dawn of Ragnarok recently, and also Far Cry VR. So I think it's a high chance that this might be for the Immortals game, but why would you need voice actors if the game is still in pre-production? Then you likely don't even have a script for them to record. Wow, and I showed you this before, Scott Phillips, game director of Syndicate, Odyssey, and most recently Immortals, is now working for the last 2 years on something new, unannounced, at Ubisoft Quebec. So maybe this Immortals related after all, and that it's further along than the leaks are saying. Then I totally think it will be one of the big announcements at the Ubisoft Forward stream on September 10th. I'm overall like totally down for a new Immortals type adventure. But first up is Hogwarts Legacy. Fingers crossed that that is still in 2022. It's next to Sonic Frontiers, the only big game that is still planned for this holiday without a firm date. Although you could argue that there's way less movement on the Hogwarts Legacy front, because for the Sonic open world title we do have some leaks, with first the Steam database noting November 8th, but if we check the history of the Steam database right now, we see that they changed it to a September 3rd date. Still, maybe something for Hogwarts Legacy is happening soon, because we got Battle Dash BR, who found images from the 3 editions that should be available for the game in the back end of the official website. So I already touched on the content in a previous Sunday video, but now we have images and also the content divided between 3 editions, with the awesome Testral mount totally being the highlight. Would of course be amazing to mount this in the game, and it's of course only viewable to wizards who've witnessed the death at least once. I'm overall curious though if it's just an early unlock or exclusive to people that buy the deluxe or collector's edition, so not earnable in the game otherwise. We got the Dark Arts cosmetics, with the battle arena likely being a skin for the dueling space. We know there are no microtransactions, but we do see the Kelpie robe as another cosmetic, and yes, that 72-hour early access to the game is still included here, also in the physical collector's edition. meaning that the game likely launches on a Friday, with then early access on Tuesday. We see the steel case as an exclusive collector's edition item, just like the floating ancient wand with book as likely the statue equivalent. Maybe it's similar to the Nimbus 2000 levitating pen that we saw a few years ago. Worth noting is that things could of course have changed. Maybe this was the plan at one point, but when we see the pre-orders open up, the editions look different. I hope that we hear something soon though, because I do feel that the time is kind of running out if they still want to launch this holiday. It seems like Star Wars Jedi Survivor is also preparing some pre-orders, as the PlayStation Store page just went up with PlayStation Game Size on Twitter, saying that the backend release window is currently slated for early March, maybe late February. So this is in the PSN database. This would totally fall in line with the fact that EA still has a major IP planned for Q4 of their financial year, which between January and March. So then you would think that Gamescom is like a great time to show some proper footage of the game. We also got some action figures of Cal with a blaster. So again, having a ranged weapon will be a big part of the new game. Another new game leak comes from Naga, who via a trick on Discord was able to see gifts for a game called Monster Hunter Paradise that should be available to claim until December 31st, 2022. And we know for a fact that this is real. Many people tried it and confirmed that it's legit, and there's also a tutorial video where he shows how it can be triggered. In another image we see that you can select a platform for the code, and it's either Xbox but also PlayStation. And I've actually been playing Rise on Switch mostly during my holiday break, and I really dig it, but now with the Sunbreak expansion and the fact that they're planning a ton of post-launch content also into 2023, I find it hard to believe that they would already announce the sequel to World. Because usually they will wait until most of the content for the ongoing Monster Hunter game is out before they reveal the next one. Still, Tokyo Game Show is coming up in the mid of September. We will have to wait and see. Maybe it's like a spin-off, something else. There is at least a random mention of it in Discord, so must be something, right? And next to the many leaks, we also got an announcement for a very interesting looking new game from Digital Extremes. And sure, I can talk about it, but Dennis, as a big Warframe fan, has way more insights, so Dennis, take it away.
I mean, I've only played over 100 hours, which is nearly enough. But yeah, maybe you already saw the cinematic trailer, but Soulframe is the first new game from the Warframe creators in almost 10 years. And while that wasn't the case at launch, Warframe has of course established itself as one of the big free-to-play titles, mostly thanks to the amount of content the devs keep adding to the game. Since launch, we've seen the addition of multiple open world zones, an incredible story, pets, spaceship combat, roaming bosses, the list just keeps going. And from the sound of it, Soulframe will be very similar to Warframe in many ways, with the big twist being that instead of sci-fi, Digital Extremes are going for a fantasy setting here. Which you could of course already guess from the trailer, which also shows the really unique and creative art style Digital Extremes is known for. I absolutely love the design of this Inquisitor-like character, but even the more basic enemies we see later in the trailer still look awesome. The main character kills them off in style though, making use of a crazy petrifying magic as well as their sword. And as you might have expected, the game's focus will primarily be on melee combat, with the developers also saying the game will feel a lot slower and heavier than Warframe. Even though it's currently very early in development, the game will be a free-to-play open-world MMORPG that will focus on a lot of things that Warframe is also known for, like action-based combat, co-op play and a focus on PvE content. And if the rest of the world looks as cool as what we saw in the trailer, I think we're in for a treat, and with how Digital Extremes handled support and development for Warframe, I think Soulframe will only get better and better after launch.
Awesome, Dennis. We will see. And of course, Dennis and Joyce took over the videos while I was on my holiday break. I first went to Budapest, the city in Hungary. Nice bath houses, water parks there. And I also went with some friends to Mallorca, the island in Spain. A lot of water, swimming. In short, it was great. I'm charged up for the less crowded looking holiday now that Avatar got delayed. Of course, talked about that delay and some cancellations even from Ubisoft in a previous video that I will link to in the video description. Still, there are some cool games that we will totally cover. Saints Row, Gotham Knights, God of War Ragnarok of course, and fingers crossed for Hogwarts Legacy that's still hitting. I'm kind of 50-50 on it now, but I hope they can make it work. And yeah, I still got a ton of other ideas for the channel and the other things we do, like we started on TikTok. Totally check us out on TikTok. We got some cool videos there. We'll be doing more once Joyce gets back from her holiday break. But I'm also curious, like I want to hear your input as well, and I've never really done this in this way, but I made a survey and you can find it in the video description, where it's like really short. I'm just curious, like what do you like about the channel? What would you like to see improve? What do you dislike? I'm just curious to hear from you, because if you're watching this end of the video, the end of a Sunday Your Game Show, then you're likely a frequent watcher. So I'm curious. Again, a link to that in the video description. I want to hear from you. Hopefully you can help me out. And subscribe, of course, for more rumor and news roundups like this. We aim to have them up every Sunday. A like on the video would really help me out. And check out the previous video on the big Assassin's Creed leaks by clicking on the screen. We learned quite a ton about the upcoming AC and the one after that might be set in Japan. So again, you can watch it by clicking on the screen. We'll speak to you soon. Goodbye.